Okay, so today's the part where we actually get a little creepy as far as going through what the ATF, specifically the ATF, is doing to probably monitor you and others like you, and what you are inadvertently doing to help them. That's what we're talking about here today. In part one, we talked about how the ATF is basically surveilling website forums like air15.com, probably Reddit, Facebook groups, and others. We also talked about how they are scraping data off of Gunbroker and all these other websites as well. This is going to be a little bit more interesting. So guys, let's get into it. So all this information, by the way, is being pulled from a document obtained by Gun Owners of America, which you should absolutely be a member of. There's a link down in the description box down below. Follow it, join. It's cheap. It's the best way to support the Second Amendment if you want to support a fantastic group of folks who are out there on the front lines, suing government, pushing back. I'm a member. I pay for it. You should too. So be sure to check that out. I don't get a nickel if you use that link, just as a heads up. So we're using this Freedom of Information document that they obtained from back in 2020, and they're actually still embroiled in a lawsuit right now with the ATF. Portions have been redacted and all this other kind of stuff. So you can find all that linked down below, as well as a link to some of the briefings as part of the lawsuit. That's great, but that's the background. The ATF has what's called the Internet Investigation Center, or the IIC. This is what it sounds like. It is the federal government basically looking across the internet in an effort to detect threats, in essence, okay? From the document, quote, the IIC mandate is to monitor, capture, and analyze social media websites for information that indicates a significant public safety threat to the public at large. The IIC utilizes open source and commercially available data sets to monitor, capture, and analyze social media information across multiple social media platforms. The IIC staff or designees will conduct a screen capture / download of the most threatening posts or post for preservation and future analysis, end quote. So we all know that everything that goes into your phone or your computer is being recorded and aggregated into something somewhere. But what? Most people, bluntly, have really no idea. We know that these devices are spying on us, but we don't really know how they're spying on us. Today, we're going to be taking a very low resolution jog through this world, because once you learn this, it may change some of what you do. It may change some of your behavior. So social media and all those weird apps that you stick on your phone, they all harvest your information. And then they flip it to these people called data service providers, or DSPs. From there, clients like, say, the ATF, I mean, it could be you, but it could also be the ATF, can basically feed prompts to these DSPs or other intermediary companies that are using the data sets compiled by DSPs to look for correlations and to calculate basically what the ATF could be determined to have a risk group. I realize that's a lot going on there. Let me break this down to a more mundane example that we can all understand. I want you to imagine that you're a local law enforcement officer. You're a sheriff. You live in a state that has no legal sale or possession of THC, of marijuana. Your state criminalizes driving with any detectable amount of THC in your blood. In English, if you consume THC, you are likely prohibited from driving for days, maybe even a week plus, long after the psychoactive effects have worn off. So if you're a sheriff and you're in a border county next to a state that has lawful dispensaries and so forth, and you want to be able to basically target down people who are driving lawfully from your state, cross the state border to the other state, or lawfully under state law at any rate, enjoying THC or whatever else the case might be, and you want to figure out who these people are, and you want to figure out maybe is there a way I can pull them over. How can you do this? Well, one thing that you can do is, and this is just me spitballing with a couple experts I had my hands on this morning to try to talk to about all this. What you could do maybe is you drop a Geo Fence on some of those dispensaries. What's a Geo Fence? A Geo Fence is basically a virtual frontier that you would never see that goes around the property of that particular dispensary. So if you walk into that dispensary now with one of these, guess what? Your information has now been picked up on your device that you've walked into one of those places. It now goes to your profile and it gets kicked over to one of these data service providers. Now that could be Google, it could be the flashlight app on your phone, it could be the weather app, it could be any number of different things, all right? All those apps, those are all, could be a game that your kid installed, all right? All those things are out there, all right? So someone now has walked into one of these dispensaries, boom, you're now on a list. Or more precisely, your phone and that information is on the list. So how do I, as this sheriff, de-anonymize these people? Because keep in mind, I'm just learning that these people are there, but I still don't know who they are. How do I de-anonymize these people? Because just because I know people are going in there and I know which devices and user IDs, all this other kind of stuff, that doesn't do me any good. After all, it is legal in that state. So presumably I don't have enough for any kind of probable cause warrants or anything like that. Okay. And again, I'm 0% advocating for that. I'm walking you through what people can do. And I'm hoping that you're paying close attention so that you can learn. There's no one way. There's a handful of different ways. I'll use one example. Remember those fake prize contests that you can find videos of on YouTube from like the 90s and the aughts, where cops set up these stings for people who had warrants on them. So they mailed these postcards to people who had warrants saying that, hey, you won a big screen TV. Just come up, pick it up at 9 o'clock at this particular location, and it's yours. Unbelievably, but predictably, people showed up who had warrants to pick up their free big screen TVs. Of course, they didn't leave with their big screen TVs. They left with a free ride to jail. So what's the modern digital equivalent of something like that? Well, there's a lot of options. One of them could look something like this. Congratulations. You suddenly have some sort of offer that's appeared to you on some sort of banner or some sort of advertisement that's saying that you won something that it's like it's too good to be true. All you have to do to unlock and redeem your prize, your discount, your whatever it is enter your email address or download X or go visit Y. Most people only use one or maybe a few emails. Those emails, I promise you, unless you really know what you're doing, are far from being anonymous and are not difficult to tie back to you. This is one simple tool that could be used to de-anonymize these individuals who, okay, they went to a dispensary and now they've come back into your state. So now your law enforcement agency starts feeding them up all these things to try to get them to give you the email. Now we just have to back solve for what the emails are. I can keep going on and on and on, but you get how this can be done now, or at least you see one particular vector. Trust me, if you really want to if you want to swim in some dark waters, we can go swimming. What would a law enforcement officer do with something like this? Look, I don't know. That's really besides the point of the video. I'm not suggesting that they would suddenly have probable cause to pull you over or probable cause to kick in your door or get a warrant. I'm 0% suggesting any of those things. I'm using this as a simple illustrative example for something that we can all wrap our heads around to see how different technology and the publicly available data that you are feeding into the machine can be weaponized and used. So what could the ATF be up to? We all know that the ATF's interested in traditionally, historically, now under the Trump administration, things have changed, but historically, they've been after, among other things, gangs, cartels, and of course, law-abiding people with things that, they've decided are illegal this particular year, like bump stocks, pistol braces, whatever else the case might be. But let's just focus on gangs and cartels. So gangs and cartels tend to come from certain specific geographic locations, right? I realize, again, this is super low resolution, right? So yes, members of cartels operate across the United States. Yeah, I get that, okay? But they're certainly traveling all over the place, right? Same thing for gangs, right? Maybe you're looking for, depending upon what you want to do, and I can imagine you can get into all sorts of profiling lawsuits and discrimination lawsuits. But what if you just take a look at data service providers where you wind up geofencing gun stores? So I want people who are accessing gun stores who live in these neighborhoods and who also buy these other things online, right? Maybe we can come up with a cross-section of things that people in gangs like to buy. Just whatever it is, let your imagination run wild, all right? And it doesn't matter if the gang is a meth lab up in the rural area or if we're talking about a crack lab in some sort of urban area. It doesn't matter. What kind of things are these people also likely to buy? The more data points you can get to triangulate down and to tightly map down who these people might be. And then we just have to back end some sort of way of feeding up some sort of way to then break the anonymity that comes online. You can start to see a correlation. Imagine this. Imagine if we got 5 data points on someone, right? Hey, they come from this zip code, or they live in this zip code, or they spend a lot of time in this zip code. They like to go to these known drug trafficking streets a lot. They like to go to a handful of these gun stores and 3 other things. We know that they like to buy online this, and the third thing. Okay, so now we've got 6 data points. What if, looking back across 500 different investigations, or we start to build this database that says, turns out that if you meet this 6 criteria points, these 6 data points, that you now have a 90% chance of being involved in some sort of drug trade. Is that enough for probable cause to arrest, even on site? I'm not suggesting it is. But by the way, that's how we do, these things called field sobriety tests. Because the field sobriety tests, the horizontal gaze, the nystagmus test, the 9-step walk and turn, the 1-leg standing, they have basically correlated certain performance metrics with your probability of being impaired. If it's good for the goose over here with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and drunk driving field sobriety tests, could similar packages and data points be good enough for the gander to make arrests on this other side? I don't know. I'm not suggesting that that's legal. I'm not suggesting that it's constitutional. What I am suggesting is I think that this is part of the frontier of where this could all be going, and it's likely already here. I'm sure it's already being utilized as part of investigations, but there's a difference between catching somebody in the act of something and then back solving for data points, as opposed to finding the data points and as a result of that, putting them under some sort of monitoring in order to then catch them in the act. Here's something that I want you to bear in mind. Every time you make a purchase online, every time you visit a website, every time you make a Google search when you're logged into your profile, every time you take your phone to a location, you are generating information. That information is likely being packaged and trafficked for money. All these apps that you downloaded for free, I hate to break it to you kids, nothing is free. If someone gave you something for free, then guess what? You are the product. And what big tech wants is information to sell to businesses, as well as governments, whoever's got the dollar. So this video has already gone on now too long. If you want to see me talk to some experts and figure out what you can do to take some simple, basic steps to protect yourself, let me know by hitting that like button, sharing this video online, and commenting down below. If you already watched this, trust me, big tech's already got you. Sorry to say it. So you got nothing to lose by commenting down below. If I see enough interest out there of people who want to know more about privacy and what's going on with government investigations, I'll be happy to make some follow-up videos on it as well. Our quote of the day comes from Galilei, who said, quote, "All truths are easy to understand once they are discovered. The point is to discover them," end quote. What did you discover in this video? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this one, please feel free to check out some of our other great content, and we'll see you in the next one.